today's session. My name's Grant. I'm the lead wellbeing coach here at Wellbeing People, where we have a wonderful vision here to empower as many people as possible to live their very best life, to live your very best life for the longest. My background is professional sport and health and fitness, and I've been working with Wellbeing People now for, crikey, the best part of 10 years, but joined them full time actually just before the pandemic dropped. So that's me. Today is an opportunity for everybody, and I'm just going to lay it out there straight away. This is an awesome opportunity today, and I'm going to invite each and every one of you to give yourself permission just for the next 45 minutes or so, 45 to 60 minutes, just to give yourself permission to pause your busy, hectic, sometimes rushed lives, to pause just for the next 45 minutes and use this opportunity, create the space to process and reflect around some of the wonderful achievements that we've experienced over the last year, and also to kind of get an idea and a feel for what success looks like for us as we move into 2023. We're going to be jumping in and out of the slide deck. I'm going to encourage you just to jump through a bit of housekeeping here. I'm just going to encourage you to share as much of your reflections as you choose to. You can share this much or this much today. It's entirely up to you. There's certainly no judgment here. It's important that I say that this is being recorded. And it will be going out on our social media. And also that means, of course, that you can re-watch this video and pause it at certain times when we're going to be asking some of these really wonderful reflective questions this morning. So utilize that chat function as much as you can. Just to let you know that if you want to use that chat function and share your answers, that'd be absolutely awesome, because all I've got is a little pinbrick in my laptop here. If you share your answer to some of the wonderful reflective questions that we've got today, just ensure it reads to everyone if you want everyone to see your answer. And if you want your answer only to be seen by myself, then just ensure that drop down reads to host and panelists only. Now, without further ado, let me just share the poll answers. I'm just going to end that poll, and hopefully you can see. Give me a quick thumbs up or a high five. Give me a virtual high five if you can see this poll. Nice one. Just raise that hand. Brilliant stuff. So people generally interested in the topic wanted to learn a little bit more about what this looks like. Hold on one second. Yeah, just wanted to learn a little bit more about this particular topic. And again, a wonderful question, how we're going to experience today's webinar. Again, multitasking is not a superpower. So again, as I say, I encourage you to resist the urge to reach for those distractions, put away those distractions wherever possible. As Confucius said, if you chase two rabbits, you catch neither of them. So I'm going to invite you, I'm going to give you permission, and hopefully you can give yourself permission today to just be as present as you possibly can. And finally, we've got again, a reflective question around our wellbeing goals. Did we achieve, or did we feel like we achieved those goals from last year? Many people outlining, as you can see, 50-50. Some people nailed it. Some people didn't quite achieve those goals, and some people didn't even set those goals. So we've got an opportunity today to reflect around all of those things as well. Nice one. Fabulous. Thank you so much for those reflections. I'm going to encourage those reflections to keep coming my way, keep coming. We can use that chat function as a wonderful kind of community little resource there, where we can share reflections, ideas, thoughts, answers, those sorts of things. So please feel free to celebrate your movement, your success this year, wherever possible. Okay, we're going to jump straight into the session. Just give me a quick high five if you've got a nice warm drink or a big glass of water at hand ready for you. Nice one. Stay nice and hydrated. Hopefully you've taken some time out today to be as present as you possibly can. So settle back, settle in. I do encourage you to either grab a pen and paper or a device where you can make notes on, because we're going to be encouraging you to kind of put those thoughts, those wonderful reflections and thoughts that you're going to have today, put them down on paper so that you can refer to them, use them as a reference and a resource for when you go in and prioritize it to do it again and gain a little bit more clarity. But thank you, everybody. Right, let's jump into it, shall we? Let's see how we go. Let me just pull that chat function down. Just give me a quick high five. I always like to double check. I always sometimes feel with IT that if I press a button, oh good, we've got to raise the hand already, that I push a button, the whole kind of world's going to implode some way. But thank you for that. So I'm assuming you can see the slide deck. We've got a raised hand. Thank you, Lottie. There we go. Yeah, fabulous. Okay, brilliant. All righty then. Well, let's jump through it today, and welcome to today's session, Reflect and Reset 2022. As I said in my short intro there, let's move that back up. There we go. As I said in my short intro there, this is a wonderful opportunity today to discover ways to help and promote and empower you to live your best life for the longest. And it's, of course, really important, isn't it? And worth remembering, of course, that your best life and my best life will always be different. So I'm going to encourage you today to take what you need from today's session. You can leave the rest, of course. Take what you need from today's session and see how you go. Do we all agree that well-being is very subjective and a bit of a moving target? Give me a quick high five. Yeah, nice one. So take what you need from today and leave the rest, as we said. Now, if you've experienced any kind of Wellbeing People product, certainly a workshop or a webinar, you will know that this is often the first slide that we highlight, which is around engage, educate, empower. We're going to focus on how we can engage you in this particular topic. We're going to hopefully educate you on aspects of this particular topic. About sometimes this can involve learning new things. It can involve relearning new things, even unlearning certain things as well. But most importantly, and one of the things that we really try and focus on. Oh no, someone's saying that they can only see a blank screen. Can everyone see my my slide deck? Give me a high five if you can see my slide deck. Yeah, we've got people there. So it might be that this person, I don't want to use your name because you said to host and panelists, if you leave and rejoin the meeting, it might be that might be the best option for you there. So yes, as I was saying, hopefully that works for you. Yeah, when it comes to empowering you as well, I mean, it's not just to inspire you, but to leave you at the end of this webinar, hopefully feeling a little bit more motivated, a little bit more ready, a little bit more proactively ready to really go and do something that's going to benefit you in your future life. So as I said, take what you need, leave the rest, challenge what doesn't seem right to you, share that chat function to share your thoughts and your answers, your reflections, and always be on the lookout for that one thing, that one action, that one experiment that you think, I know what, I'll roll with that and see how I get on. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the power of reflection. I'm going to share with you some insights into why it's such a wonderful learning tool. And that's where that growth and development happens, when we pause and reflect. We can also talk today through Gallup's 5 elements of well-being and hopefully draw some sort of awareness around each of these elements of well-being as we reflect on 2022 and move into 2023. And also we're going to be beginning that process of setting goals today and reflecting around what is the a most effective way for us to approach this. Now, you'll hear us say today well-being quite often, of course, and when we start to reflect around well-being, when you hear me say that word, it's not just a physical fitness element or eating well. It's also about how we're living our lives. Well-being encompasses all of those things that are important to each and every one of us and how we experience our lives. It's also very unique and very subjective to each and every one of us, but it's also universally relevant as well. So when we talk about well-being, that's what I'm going to be referring to. So as I said, today is a wonderful opportunity to hand over, create a bit of space today for you to process some of your emotions, some of your thoughts, some of your reflections. So that's what we're going to be doing throughout this session. So the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do, and please feel free again to share your reflections in the chat function, is to answer this question. What's your proudest well-being achievement of 2022? I'm going to give you 30 seconds or so to 60 seconds just to allow your intuition to take over. Whatever immediately jumps into your brain, Feel free to share in the chat function if you want it, if you want to. Thank you, Dorothy. There you go. Someone highlighting to me that setting those clear work boundaries between work and family has been a really wonderful achievement that they've reflected around. Someone else saying walking 2 miles, was that 2 miles a day? Because I've got loads of answers just jumping in straight away. Walking 2 miles every day, fantastic. People reflecting around their physical activity achievements, maintaining balance as well. Someone, that's an interesting word, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Someone saying completing the biggest wellbeing achievement was completing the Recalibrate Wellbeing program. Thank you for sharing that, Nina. And what did you take? What was the biggest part of that for you? What did you take most away from recalibrating your wellbeing? Regular yoga. Someone saying achieving the Wellbeing Ambassador Training Program. Fabulous. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing. Rachel said, give me a high five. This resonates with you as well. Giving myself permission to take time for myself. Give me a high five. Does that resonate with you as well? Isn't that a wonderful reflection? Really, really lovely. Wow, getting back to velodrome riding. Nice one. Wow, so many. They're coming in so quickly. I can't keep up with them. Okay, but really, really wonderful reflections. Keep those coming in. I'm going to follow this question up, excuse me, by asking this second question, looking up on your screens now. What one action or behavior do you feel has contributed most to this achievement? So thinking about now more of the process that you went through, what one action or behavior do you feel has contributed most to you achieving those things that you've just highlighted? Someone saying setting goals has actually contributed the most. This self-belief, self-efficacy, yes. Staying consistent, lovely words. And again, feel free to take kind of, if you've got your phones with you, you can take kind of snapshots of these questions that are up on your screens. You will be sent, I think, perhaps Justine can give me a quick heads up with this. I think you will be sent the recordings again to rewatch. Will they get access to the slide decks? I'm not sure, but perhaps Justine, you can drop me a little message about that. Oh, I love that. Someone saying here, Debbie, thank you so much, saying the one action or behavior that they feel has contributed most to their achievement is learning to say no. Developing that confidence in our ability to say no or not right now. Wow, amazing. Wonderful reflections. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. So saying learning to say no, something I used to really struggle with. And what is it? How have you got better? What triggered that? What process have you gone through? What's enabled you to get better? How do you know you've got better at saying no? Really interesting questions to ponder and reflect around. Brilliant reflections as always. Thank you so much. Okay, let's jump into the next part here. Now, we're going to talk a little bit here about the power of reflection. And as John Dewey said, as you can see up on the screen, we don't learn from the experience, we learn from reflecting on the experience. And so it's a simple way here to kind of get a bit of a visual around the power of reflection. Now, so we start off here, as you can see with this visual, that at the top of this kind of inverted kind of pyramid shape here, we've got kind of a new experience. So let's take, for example, what we like to refer to here at Wellbeing People, 1% progress experiments that we kind of encourage people to commit to each week on the programs, or these might be experiments or goals or mini goals or milestone goals that you've set yourself. So consider a new experience. So we start off with that new experience that you've been attempting. Then we reflect around that experience. We reflect on that experience. So each week, you know, we would encourage people to take time to ask themselves really reflective questions on, you know, what went well, you know, what insights did you gain from the experiment? If you had to relive that week again, would you do anything slightly differently? What would you do differently? Was there a difference between what you planned to do and what you actually did? What caused that difference? So we encourage reflection. Now, when we invest in that reflection, that's when we kind of end up raising that self-awareness around our existing behaviors. And we begin, don't we, challenging those existing beliefs. So we start kind of evolving our beliefs as well, because we begin challenging those existing beliefs. And when our beliefs evolve, that's when we start kind of creating more importance around certain behaviors and habits. And once we begin to take regular actions, once we begin to be consistent, as someone highlighted in the chat function, whether that's with our nutrition, our movement, our mindset, our lifestyle, those key pillars of our well-being. Once we become more consistent and we take regular action, we then start to get that habit evolution. And it's only when we've tried something new, we've then reflected on that, we've refined and sustained some of those habits, we arrive at that identity kind of evolution. Now, this identity evolution, I guess, is really key, because as you can see, it takes several layers, doesn't it, to get through until you arrive at that kind of monumental identity evolution, where we get a shift in identity. So we all perhaps know, perhaps you can resonate with it. Give me a high five if this resonates with you. Perhaps we know that person that was perhaps young and rebellious and burnt that candle really brightly and overindulged in many different ways. Perhaps they were always getting into trouble, but now they're the complete opposite. So there's been that complete identity change. Or perhaps we can bring to life and remember that person that was Mr. or Mrs. completely unfit and unhealthy, but now they've completely changed their identity and they're Mr. or Mrs. Fitness Guru. Identity evolution takes time. But one of the key steps here is to practice and do stuff and then reflect around it. So let me ask you a quick question, everybody. In the last year, so 2021, for the last 11 months or so, do you feel any of your beliefs around your well-being has evolved in some way? And if so, can you give me a quick strap line? How have your beliefs evolved? What have they revolved specifically around? So take time to share again in the chat box if you want to. Have you gone from perhaps being a non-cook to a cook, or a non-runner to a runner? Perhaps you've gone from being a Netflix binger to suddenly prioritizing your sleep and your routines. Take time to reflect, and that's what we're going to be doing today, is creating space to do this. So when we start to pause again, just to share with you and bring it to life a little bit more here, reflection, as you can see, broadly encompasses reflective thinking, which is pausing and stopping and thinking about what's happened. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to do some reflective thinking. Also, reflection involves reflective learning. And this is an experience where we kind of reflect on an experience that's happened, what went well, what didn't go so well, etc. And then there's reflective practice. This is the practice of consistently working on a strategy that works best for you. So let me just click on to the next part here, because John Dewey also kind of famously spoke about two different types of reflection. The first was reflection in action. Now, we do this all the time, and some people certainly a lot more efficiently than others. For example, reflection in action would be kind of if something went wrong with this webinar I'm delivering at the moment. Something happened, I would need to reflect in the moment and in the process of what's going on, and then adapt as I go. So there's reflection in action, and there's also reflection on action. And again, this is where really that high level thinking starts to occur, because often in our fast-paced world, our fast-paced lives, we don't give ourselves that time or pause and create space for ourselves to reflect on our action. And this enables us, as you can see, just to work through those layers so that we start to get to that identity evolution. And it enables us to really start helping ourselves really navigate our way through our busy lives and our busy world. So I just want to now share with you all a wonderful little insight here. We're going to bring this to life just a little bit more. It's a little bit more practical way to bring it to life a little bit, because remember, these reflective questions and reflective learnings, it's a practice, isn't it? It's a practice. And if reflection is something that you don't really do at the moment, then the first time you do actually, start to embed this reflective practice, sometimes it can feel like you're chasing your tail a little bit. For example, if you've set yourself a goal or a mission or attempted some sort of habit change or behavioral change, and it didn't quite work out for you that week, then we might end up thinking, well, there's nothing to reflect around. And it can be hard to reflect and hard to progress. So instead, those reflections need to be focused around on, what obstacles are in my way, what barriers were in my way. Give me a high five. Do you agree that doing nothing is also a behavior? What do you think? Doing nothing is also a behavior, which means that we can reflect around that, right? We can reflect around, what were the reasons? What were the causes? What were the circumstances that led to me either being more successful or less successful with my experiments? Now, the key thing is to have some sort of structure in place. And we use this, and those people that have experienced the Recalibrate Wellbeing Program will be familiar with this. But we use this wonderful reflective process where we ask these 4 key questions. And this was actually developed by the US Army, actually, who developed this, and they call it after action reviews model. And as you can see here, it involves kind of this little quadrant up on your screen here. Just before we move into this, well, let me ask you, can you identify, you don't have to share in the chat function now, what was I supposed to experiment with? So think about either yesterday or last week. Did you set yourself an experiment? Did you set yourself a goal? Perhaps it was a well-being goal. Perhaps it was to go to bed slightly earlier. Perhaps it was to eat a few more veg. Perhaps it was to move a little bit more, whatever that goal was. Did you set yourself a goal? So the top half of these questions, the top half of this quadrant involves these two key questions, which actually anchors us in reality. These are more factual, aren't they? So what was I supposed to experiment with versus what actually happened? So these are more factual, aren't they? They're more objective kind of questions that we can answer here. The bottom half of the quadrant identifies, again, a couple of questions here that are incredibly powerful and important for us. And these are more subjective, aren't they? They're designed to develop that growth mindset, that win-learn kind of mindset, and it's a little bit more subjective. So what was supposed to happen? What actually happened? What caused that difference, if there was a difference? And what can I learn? A very powerful question. What insights can I gain from my experiment? What can I learn from this? So again, when we pause, reflective thinking is essential for success in unpredictable and complex situations, such as working with customers and clients, according to the University of Reading here. And as you can see, they used examples like customers and clients, but you can equally use your own well-being as an example. I think we can all agree that our well-being is pretty unpredictable, right, and pretty complex sometimes. But as with anything complex, you break it down into smaller constituents, it doesn't have to be complicated. So by engaging in this quadrant, these wonderful, wonderful reflective questions, we can start to develop that growth mindset each week. And when can you practice your reflective thinking? We can practice it for our well-being, which is what we're going to do today. Personal goals, our projects, our careers, our relationships, any new hobbies and skills and those sorts of things. Some people kind of forget about kind of personal goals. So again, it may sound kind of simple, but the more and more we can practice these questions and ask ourselves these questions, the more we're going to start to develop that understanding more around our well-being, our personal projects, our careers, our goals, learning new skills and those sorts of things. Give me a high five or yes in the chat. Is this something that you currently do, perhaps on a regular basis? Perhaps if you're a manager, you might well do it in your one-to-ones with others or in a slightly different way. But these are really, really powerful questions. Just learning and understanding these questions, really great for you to reflect around. What was I supposed to do? What actually happened? What caused that difference? Well, life got in the way. Perhaps I didn't go shopping and I didn't make that shopping list all of these sorts of things. What can I learn? Well, perhaps I can learn to allocate myself a little bit more time at the start of the week to write down my list or plan, my food diary or whatnot. So it's a wonderful, simple tool that we can kind of apply. So let's jump into now and share with you the Gallup 5 essential elements of well-being. Take a moment or two just to familiarize yourself with each of these elements. Now, Gallup is an analytics and kind of advisory company and it really measures employee engagement. It asks them random samples of working populations about specific workplace elements that might link to organizational outcomes. So things like profitability, productivity, customer service, retention, and of course, overall well-being as well. And these are the 5 elements. So you've got career well-being, liking what you do each day and being motivated to achieve those goals. Do you engage in meaningful work or meaningful activities every day? Give me a high five. Do you feel like your work is meaningful for you? Lovely. We've got lots of hands coming up. So it's basically here how you occupy your time. Is it? It's about liking and enjoying really what we do every day in your professional arena. Then we've got social. Again, having supportive relationships and love in your life. Do you have meaningful relationships in your life that you invest in and nurture? Then they've got financial, again, managing your economic life, to reduce stress and increase your security and sense of security. Do you feel like you manage your money well? Do you feel like you manage your economic life well? Give me a high five if that's a yes. Nice one. And then we've got community, liking where you live, feeling safe and having that pride in your community. So here it's about having a sense of engagement within the area in which you live, or really the causes that you support. So it's about giving, it's about contribution. Do you feel like you give and contribute for things that are greater than you? And physical well-being, of course, having good health, and energy. Do you feel like you have the energy to get things done? Give me a high five. Do you feel like you generally have the energy to get things done day to day? Or is this something that you can focus on or refocus on? Again, the Recalibrate Wellbeing is a behavioral change program. The Recalibrate Wellbeing program is a program that focuses on behavior change, but also, especially the energy management side of things. Do you feel like you've got enough energy? Do you feel healthy, in shape, and well, and ready? So let me ask you, let's take time to reflect. Oh, click. Did it click? There it is. Okay. So which element, if you were to reflect just around what you can see up on your screen here, which element do you view as the most successful for you in 2022? Share in the chat function. I want to see lots of either career, social, financial, community. Which element do you feel is most successful for you? Share with me your reflections. Physical, social, physical, come and jumping in as well. Career, social and community. Someone's saying community, career. Lovely reflections. And again, what did you do to ensure the success here? What one thing can you highlight when you reflect on why this element was so successful for you? What one thing can you highlight that you go, do you know what? That's perhaps the main reason why I was successful for that. Nice reflections again coming through. And again, as you can see up in the middle of the screen now, I've just popped up here. As you can see, while 66% of people are doing well, and in at least one of these areas, 77% are thriving in all areas. So what do you do to ensure it's working for you? And the last question here is, what will you do to maintain this success? What do you feel is the most important thing that you can act on and be consistent with, as someone mentioned earlier on in the chat? What will you do to maintain this success? Does it require reaching out for greater support? Does it require setting aside time and managing your time more effectively? Does it require planning or organization? Does it require reaching out and asking for help to maintain and sustain this wonderful success that you experienced? Lovely. Oh, someone here, that's lovely. Saying, sharing things with friends and asking them for support. Give me a quick high five. Is it okay to reach out and ask for support? Yeah, absolutely fundamental. It tells me as a coach, as a person, it tells me that you want to take ownership of your well-being. It tells me that you're a strong person. Certainly not a sign of weakness, reaching out, seeking support. Wonderful reflections again. Good stuff. So give me a quick high five if you're familiar with SMART goals. I'm sure many of you are, and you've come across this a number of times perhaps throughout your life, but I'm just going to just touch base with this. As you can see, Tony Robbins says here, kind of setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into visible. So, when we do invest time setting goals, especially effective goals, it's not always that easy. Do we all agree? Give me a high five. Do we all agree? Sometimes setting goals, it can be quite difficult, right? And the chances are actually you're on the right track if it is quite challenging sometimes for us. And when we take the time kind of setting those career goals, objectives, those professional goals, those personal goals, it's important we dig a little bit deeper, isn't it? And ask ourselves those questions that really are going to push us to develop and design those goals that are, when we're using that kind of critical kind of lens, that strategic kind of lens that we need to look through. So when you or your business want to achieve something or progress or grow or develop or you want to perform better, it's a great idea that you set goals. Do we all agree? Give me a high five. It's a great way to monitor and measure. Planning your goals is a great strategy. It gives us that little blueprint here, doesn't it, of what you want to achieve and invest in and how you're going to achieve it as well. And when we invest in that goal setting, we begin to take a little bit more ownership and autonomy of our lives. We begin to create a little bit more opportunity, don't we, about what we need to influence, what we want to happen tomorrow, what we want to happen next month, what we want to happen in a year or 10 years from now. And if you don't set goals, I guess, there's a bit of a risk, isn't there, that your pathway to that success and getting to those successes that you want becomes perhaps more coincidental than anything else. So SMART goals here is about, these 5 separate kind of criteria points that are highlighted up on your screen here. And these are incredibly important when we create goals, whether they're personal or professional. So this significantly increases the chances of this particular goal at hand actually being reached when we go through this process of SMART goal setting. So specific, make sure that the goal that you set yourself is as specific as possible. So just saying you want to be happy is not terribly specific. What does that actually look like for us? Make sure it's measurable. What metrics are you going to use? How are you going to know if you've achieved that goal or not, or you're making progress? Is it achievable for us? If it isn't, how can we make it a little bit more simple? Is it relevant and realistic for us? Is it relevant for us and our overall outcomes? And, is it time bound? When are we going to achieve it by? It's quite a simple strategy to look at on the outside. Taking time to invest in it is absolutely fundamental for you increasing your success at achieving your goals. So to achieve optimal success and stay in alignment with your values, your goals should be accompanied by daily intentions and actions. We're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail in a second. So what do we value the most? Our values really drive kind of wind into our sails, don't we? They direct us, they help align our functions. So let me ask you guys, and I'm going to, again, hand this back over to you. We want to provide ourselves with that clarity about what we stand for in our life. What do we value the most? Identifying and understanding our values, our personal values, it helps us prioritize what is most important to us and what we want to do to spend our time on and create energy. It helps and influences our goals. If we understand our values and what they are, you're better motivated. You're more motivated to connect and commit really to achieving those goals based on those goals that are aligned with your personal values. So let me ask you now, and feel free to, again, run your eye over the list of values here that have popped up on your screen. Which ones are most important to you in your life at the moment? What is it that you stand for? Take a moment just to reflect around what it is that you value most deeply. Share with me in the chat function. Share with me in the chat function. What are your values? Is it relationships? Is it fairness? Is it friendships? Is it fun? Is it happiness? Is it growth? Is it career development? Meaningful work? What values resonate with you the most? Ask yourself those questions, and listen. What comes up for you? What calls out for your attention in your life right now? What is most meaningful for you? And again, ask yourself, does my goal, perhaps you haven't got a goal in mind at the moment, but is that goal aligned? And is it going to be aligned to your values? How will you ensure that your actions align with your values? So wonderfully, wonderfully important that we start to kind of create that importance. We start to discover why these goals are important to us. We start to discover our why. We start to discover why we care about these goals. Nice reflections again, as always. Excellent. Okay, so let's look ahead a little bit then to 2023 and start building that vision. Now, we're all aware, of course, of the importance of setting that clear vision. And we all acknowledge that it drives and aligns our actions and behaviors much better than if we didn't have that clear vision. And remember that well-being, of course, is very personal and subjective, and it can only come from you. Now, everyone has the same amount of time, and working towards optimal well-being is it's hard work, right? And as a result, what you do in the time that you work determines what you achieve. And since what you do is determined by what you think, how big you think becomes that launching pad for how high you achieve. So I'm going to encourage you now to reflect around this wonderful question. Ask this question at least twice a day. What does optimal well-being look like for you? What is your outcome goal? What's that mountaintop goal? Does it involve freedom, longevity, balance, happiness, contentment? Let your minds go and dream as big as possible. We're not going to get caught up in the how to go and achieve it. I'm just going to say to myself, okay, well, that would be an optimal well-being goal that would really fit with me. For example, many of you know this already, I think, well, I won't say many of you, certainly I know that there's a couple of colleagues watching. My optimal well-being goal is to go for a walk when I'm 100 years old, holding my wife's hand, laughing, joking, and reminiscing about a wonderful life that we've had. Didn't start out like that, I have to say. Didn't start out like that, but after reflection, raising my awareness and continual and consistent reflection around it, that's where it ended up. But what's your outcome goal? What does optimal well-being really mean for you? And again, it's not for me to tell you what that is. As you can see, Blaise Pascal said, people are generally better persuaded by the reasons that they have discovered for themselves rather than the ideas that have been expressed by others. So I'm certainly not here to tell you how to live your life and to tell you what well-being is for you. Well-being isn't being told how to live our lives. Thank you. Someone saying, oh, that's such an adorable goal, Grant. Thank you very much. But it does, if I'm going to go for a walk when I'm 100, I better make sure that I walk every day until I'm 100. So it aligns my focus. What does optimal well-being look like for you? The next is, what areas of your well-being will you prioritize first? So taking a moment just to reflect around those 5 elements of well-being: career well-being, social well-being, financial well-being, community well-being, and physical well-being. Which areas of your well-being would you like to prioritize first? And again, just to follow on from the previous slide here, a wonderful, wonderful question. Love asking, why should you care? Why do you care about these goals? Good goals are going to be goals that express our personal interests, our personal values. So it's very, very hard for someone else to tell you what your goal is. So taking a moment to connect with the why is really, really imperative and important. It drives that intrinsic motivation to move forwards towards your goal. Why do you care about your goals? How will you know that you're progressing? What metrics will you be using? Again, when we start to create that vision for 2023, when we start to kind of streamline it a little bit more, how are we going to know? What metrics are we going to use? Are they going to be objective metrics, kind of factual metrics that we can use? You know, so for example, if it's to create more movement in our life, how can we make that specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound? How can we make it a SMART goal? How are we going to measure it? What metrics are going to be useful for us? Is it going to be subjective metrics, like scaling questions? It's such a wonderful tool to use. For example, you know, how happy did I feel generally last week or last month? We could ask ourselves that question every month, and there's a simple subjective metric there in place for us. If you want more specific metrics, again, we can create those around the goals that we have. But again, just asking ourselves these questions, hopefully, you know, you're writing a few of these questions down to reflect around at a later time. And again, I'm just going to click onto this because I think this is terribly important. You know, the majority of what you want will come from the minority of what you can do. So this is that Pareto principle, isn't it? It states that for many outcomes, roughly about 80% of the consequences come from 20% of the causes. So in other words, a small percentage of what you do has an outsized effect on other things. So for example, 80% of your success comes from 20% of your ideas. 80% of stress is caused by 20% of stressors. 80% of your sleep quality is determined and occurs in 20% of your sleep. So this concept is important to understand, isn't it? Because it can help us identify which of those well-being focuses, which of those habits, which of those behaviors that we need to prioritize so that we can have the most impact on our overall goal. It is absolutely worth noting, and give me a high five if you've heard this before, but it's really absolutely worth noting that there's a common misinterpretation of the Pareto principle, which is that 20% of the effort gives you 80% of it allows you to achieve 80% of the results, which is not necessarily the case. 20% and 80% numbers, they don't really refer to the amount of effort that you're putting in, but the causes and the consequences that you're working on. So the goal is not to reduce or minimize the amount of effort that you're putting in, but to focus your effort on a specific portion of your well-being that's going to create that bigger impact. So of course, you still have to put 100% effort into that small priority that you're going to be focusing on. Does that make sense? Give me a high five. Are you still there? Give me a high five. Hopefully that makes sense. The key message here is that if we can prioritize those key things that are going to be most important for us, it gives us a bigger bang for our buck. The majority of what you want will come from the minority of what you do. So setting ourselves up for success in 2023, I'm going to ask you to pause and take a moment as we move into 2023. Which elements of your well-being or element of your well-being do you feel is more of a priority for you moving into the new year? Which one would you like to focus on first? We've identified this, but taking a moment again, just to really embed that, what am I going to focus on first? So if it's career, perhaps we can start asking ourselves a question. How will I create a fun and motivating workplace? Is it my responsibility to do that? I would say I certainly have a responsibility to create a fun and motivating workplace for myself. So what can I do? What can I influence? So what will I do to create a fun and motivating workplace? What can I do? If you're going to focus on social, and that's going to be a priority for you, perhaps we can ask ourselves this really wonderful question. How can I nurture new and existing relationships? This is always a big one for me, you know. Always makes me ponder and reflect on, like setting myself, you know, accepting more social invitations. I feel that I could be more proactive doing that. It always makes me wonder. Apologies for that. I was just kind of thinking. If it's financial, what do I need to do to reduce my financial stress? Perhaps there is someone that you can speak with. Perhaps you can organize a meeting with somebody that's going to be more insightful, perhaps provide some more insight and guidance and direction for you when it comes to your economic situations. What about community? And again, incredibly important. How will I make a difference? I love asking this question. You know, what will you do to make a difference today? How will you make a difference every day? So what will you do to increase happiness in others? What could you do for no extrinsic reward, just because it makes you feel a bit fluffy inside? What could you do specifically in your local area to support your local community if you had to? And if it's physical, again, taking a moment to ask ourselves, how will I stay in shape and feel healthy? What do I need to focus on? So how can I stay motivated to achieve these goals? You know, it's important to remember that the why, you know, why you set that goal in the first place. You know, what is it that inspired you to take action? Reminding yourself of your original motivations can really help you stay focused on achieving these goals. Don't be afraid to ask for help is another wonderful way to stay motivated. Do we agree? Give me a high five. There's no shame in admitting that you need some assistance to achieve your goal, right? So just be sure to speak with that person, choose that someone who will be kind of supportive and encouraging for you. And sometimes our goals change. Do we all agree? Sometimes your goals change. Have your goals changed? Perhaps they have from last year to now. Perhaps they will. And it's likely, isn't it? Life consistently changes, and our goals should reflect that as well. So if you find yourself, you know, no longer motivated by your original goal, it's perfectly fine to pause and adjust it. The important thing is to keep moving forwards towards the something, whatever that is, there's something that brings joy into your life. So we're coming towards the end of the session. I'd just like to finish up just by introducing you to kind of the learning pyramid here. And this is really, really important. Give me a high five. Has any of you come across this before? Perhaps you have. You know, there are various methods. A person, a learner, an individual really that can engage with that will allow them to learn information at various kind of percentages of retention. So for example, as you can see, the pyramid outlines those percentages of the learner recall, and it's associated with those different elements, those different approaches. So for example, the first 4 levels, they're lecture, reading, audiovisual and demonstration. Then more passive learning methods, in contrast to the bottom 3, discussion, practice doing it and teaching others, which are more active, participatory kind of methods or approaches. Now, the learning pyramid, as you can see, illustrates that active participation in the learning process results in that higher retention. So one of the key things that we're going to promote here is action. It's incredibly important that we take a step forward with action, because intention without action, give me a high five. Do we all sometimes not suffer with this? Do we kind of, does this resonate with you? Do you have loads of intention? Sometimes you're like, yes, I've got loads of intention. And sometimes we tell all our friends about our intentions, you know, and we're in conversation with them, and they'll probably show us a little bit of support and stuff like that. But without any progress, without any action, it's almost, is it worth sharing that intention? So, or is it more the opposite to that? Is it action without intention? So do you ever set yourself goals? Do you simply get up in the morning and go at your day, then come home, watch TV, chill out, and do it over and over again without any change? This is called having action with no intention. Do you ever ask yourself at the end of your day, have I been busy or have I been effective? Give me a high five. Have you ever gone through your day and been really busy, and you got to the end of the day and someone said to you, you know, I've had a really busy day. What did you do? Actually, I don't feel like, yeah, were you productive? Well, no, not really, but I was really busy. Okay, the key thing to pause around and reflect around is intention plus action. This is where the magic happens. This is that big change where that magic happens. This is when we know for sure we have that clear vision around what we want, and we act, don't we? We act on that intention. We take a step. That's why practice doing creates 75% of that retention. It's where we practice and apply and act on that attention. We attempt change, we experiment, we create a progress, not perfection mindset, which is our number one motto here. Number one motto here. So what can we do? What can we do? Positive intentions are, of course, either the intention of setting smart goals. That's a positive intention, definitely. So have smart goals in mind. Positive actions, dream big, start small. Perhaps we can simplify it down so that it makes it more sustainable, accessible, and achievable for us. Perhaps we can make these habits easier, these behavior changes easier for us. And the key thing is to celebrate your wins. Hopefully today, you've taken a moment or two just to celebrate and pause and celebrate your wins that you've experienced, but also to kind of perhaps get an idea of which direction I'm going to be heading in 2023. Give me a high five. Does that resonate with everybody? Intention without action. Action without intention. Intention plus action is the win. Whatever we do, as long as we're doing something, we're either going to win or we're going to learn. We're never going to lose. So I just want to finish up. We're coming towards the end of the session. Here we like to, or certainly I do, I'll use this phrase quite often, plan, schedule and complete, plan, schedule and complete. I'm going to encourage you to diarise your recalibration time to review your wellbeing goals. When does that review occur? I mean, you're in charge. You can review it weekly, monthly, however. We tend to lean into around every 4 to 6 weeks just to pause and kind of check in with ourselves. So plan and consider the role of goal setting. Consider the role of using SMART goals. So if you have a goal, write it at the top of your page now. Just write that goal at the top of your page. And then underneath, write SMART. And then literally aligning it congruently with your goal. How are you going to make it more specific? Can you make it as specific as possible? How are you going to measure it? What are you going to do? That really helps bring it to life for you. And again, the importance of doing stuff. Not just doing it, but the idea that it does embed your learning, it does embed your attention. And the importance of checking in and reviewing. Let me ask you, and share in the chat function, what are your best tips for achieving goals? Share with everybody now. Just click to everyone and share with everyone, what's your best tip to achieving any goal? Share with me in the chat function. Last thing we're going to do. Start small. Nice. There you go. Small steps. Yeah, set those milestones, those tiny little steps. Be persistent. Oh, I love that. You have to actually want to, you have to be emotionally connected to that goal, don't you? There has to be a desire, a want. It needs to be important. That might change over time, right? Celebrate success. One day at a time, be patient. These are wonderful, wonderful reflections, everyone. Oh yeah, discover your passions. Thank you, Sammy. There we go. Make sure it's something you are passionate about. Are you passionate about this goal? Why do you care about this goal? Is it a passion for you? Wonderful reflections. Yeah, don't give up. If you don't achieve it first, there's always another attempt, right? What's the worst that can happen? What's the best that can happen? What's most likely to happen? Have you got another chance? Yeah, of course I have. Start small. Wonderful reflections. Yeah, that optimistic, try it again and again and again. Really, really good stuff. Okay, fabulous. We're coming towards the end here now. Wellbeing People, those of you that have experienced some of the products here at Wellbeing People, you will know that we like to kind of end with a progress experiment. So let me ask you guys, and feel free to share which of these options resonate with you and which will you commit to today. Well, I'll say commit to today. Which ones are you going to choose to commit to? Is it going to be option number 1, to schedule in time into your diary to review and design your own 2023 wellbeing recalibration goals? Is it going to be option 2, to schedule time into your diary to review and design your 2023 wellbeing recalibration goals with a partner or friend? So perhaps we can collaborate, perhaps we can create a little bit more accountability, which is that rocket fuel for you to achieve that goals, isn't it? That accountability. Or is it number 3? Perhaps you're going to schedule in some time into your diary to review and design your 2023 goals with a professional coach, trainer, or mentor. Which of these options will you select? Now, what I'm going to do, because I'm conscious of time, is I'm going to launch the feedback poll. So please feel free, before you escape today, to jump on the feedback poll, which I've launched right now. So please feel free to jump on there now and share your reflections around the last 55 minutes or so. That would be amazing if you can do that. Let me just close that down. And as always, at the end of our workshop or webinar, we will always encourage what we call session reflection. So what was the most useful thing for you from this session today? Share with me your reflections again in that chat function. Was it simply giving yourself time today, giving yourself this last hour to pause and reflect and create a bit of space for you? Or was there something that we discussed today in the webinar that resonated a little bit more with you? Share your reflections again in that chat function. Oh, thank you. There we go. Someone saying it resonated when they were thinking about what they value the most. Yeah, just connecting with the idea that, you know what, I do need some time to sit down and give myself direction. A little bit of focused time on reflection, really, really great stuff. A reminder to put planning time aside. Isn't that essential? You know, we do it in other areas of our life. You know, we spend time planning, you know, what I'm going to go and get my food shop. We spend time planning perhaps my workout and exercise routines. We spend time planning the priorities of our day. When do we spend time and invest planning the priorities of our well-being? So yeah, really wonderful reflection. A few short moments just to jump on there and share your thoughts and reflections. From myself and everybody here at Wellbeing People, we hope you have a really amazing Christmas and Day. And just in case you're wondering, Maltesers. So I just thought I'd kind of throw that out there, just to leave you with that thought as well. But outside of that, if you've thank you so much. I wish you every success moving into 2023. Set aside that time for reflection and use the power of reflection in your day-to-day activities, and undoubtedly you will see and feel the growth and development in almost every area of your life, I'm sure. So I wish you every success. Have lots of fun over Christmas if you can, and into the new year, and enjoy. And thank you so much again for prioritizing your time and joining me here for this webinar. But thank you everybody so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I'm conscious of time. It's just gone over 12. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you everyone so much. Don't forget to jump on the feedback poll. Bye everyone. Enjoy.